Hey there. Okay. I have a good number of journals that are written and as yet unrecorded. I think I'm going to read you the most recent one and maybe work back from there. So this is actually from today. Yeah, it's still the 29th. It's a Jaguar day, which I love. It's 6 Jaguar. And so uh, this whole journal thing is quite strange. Let me make the text a little bigger for these eyes that aren't so hot. Okay, you would think, having done the journals for about 4 decades or more, I'd be used to them, and I'd have a nice routine or something going on. Well, you'd be wrong. It doesn't work that way. Oh, sure, it did once, back when or the mind, was the one doing most of the writing, or at least some of it. These days, more and more, I'm hard pressed to identify who and what is what. Such as this several day period with no journals, written or live. Now, I didn't choose to do that or not to do them. It just happens. The inspiration doesn't come. Sorry, I don't know whether it's kitty fur or what. Okay, even I get a little uncomfortable after a few non journaling days, so I will open the ones already written and check out the titles, kind of click through them, seeing if anything calls me to record, and sometimes it does. No such luck tonight. I don't even know if anything will come through me here in this writing. It usually does, but that's not assured. I've been neither up nor down lately, just somewhere floating in between. It's been odd, but that's more and more usual these days for me. I don't know about you, but I think I'm noting some differences that I will attribute to the eclipse and our star lineup with the Pleiades at the time of that eclipse. Plus, there is a sort of tension, at least I've noted it in me, as we wait these last few days for the big Venus transit. After June 5th, none of us now living will be around when she transits this way again, since it will be more than a 100-year wait. So much going on, and us walking around in these human bodies cut off from much of our awareness of just what's happening, either on Earth or beyond, or in the other dimensions. It's a helpful time to be on a spiritual path, for we have more understanding than the everyday sleeple or sheeple have. We at least have some sort of sense of current goings on, right or wrong. Many of us are noting continuing internal changes that clue us in somehow, if nothing else, to the fact that some pretty big changes are taking place. We ourselves are changing in ways we never bargained on nor asked for. We find our tastes and priorities shifting all over the place, all out of recognition. It's as if everyone on the planet suddenly went into menopause or the life change or got the 40-year itch or something. People are restless. How about you? How are you handling things? I don't really know what to say. I don't know that I'm handling them any better than the next guy. I'm not going to say I am. Sometimes I feel so solid and centered and things look really clear, but those times are in the minimum. I drop into everyday consciousness too, just like everyone else. Or that's the seeming of it, friends. Remember, 3D is more a seeming than a reality. This is a really good time to be older, to have a few extra miles on the chassis and the life experience that represents. Sure, I know some people's bodies can reach their 90s and they never really seem to mature. They're the only ones who can do anything about that, really, so there's no use worrying about it. That won't be the case with you unless you're still asleep. And if you were, this vlog would bore you to tears. So if you're here, you're likely not. So what is awakening anyway? What does it mean? I've already said I don't believe it has an end point any more than I believe that the world does, and that she will roll up the sidewalks come December 21st. These things are cyclical. Sure, the world will end one day as far as the planet, but this ain't that. And life goes on. So does awakening. I just can't imagine reaching some stage called enlightened and then spending the rest of eternity frozen there. That just doesn't make sense. Besides, I'm one who feels that even God is still growing, expanding, and morphing. If God or Source could be and have anything she or he wants, why be something static and still? I'd be ever changing myself. So, if it's not something with some definite completion symptoms, then what is it? I'm just feeling it out here since I really don't know. What do you ask after all? Who do you ask? Who is the authority? No one seems to even agree on that. What I note is the general movement from mind-based living into heart-centered awareness or being. People these days begin to live more from the heart, and those who do seem much more satisfied with life. That's one big trait I notice: satisfaction with life and living from heart. Another awakening symptom is losing all sense of judgment completely. Now, this is so complete, you hardly even find them able to criticize anyone or anything for anything. If they do, take a deeper look and you'll see it was just a suggestion to improve something, not a complaint or a criticism at all. There is an overall sense of gratitude that goes with this, which I capitalize to distinguish it from the normal human sense of the word. It's not thankfulness, that's a duality. This is more divine than human, a divine attribute. So, we add loss of judgment and criticism on the minus side, and an increase of gratitude on the plus side. Mixed in with this gratitude is an unaccountable sense or attitude of peace, another divine attribute, not at all what humans call peace. There's an underlying contentment that is a bit overwhelming to the mind, which simply doesn't understand how it could exist in this world as it is. That reminds me of the situation of the new status or case of the mind. In relation to heart, mind has lost its major place of rulership over the life. That is completely gone or on the way out. Heart is in charge now, and this may be the most challenging change for most people to make. Especially here in the West, we're well trained and programmed to be left brain dominant all the time. The mind doesn't take well initially to its demotion, so there are challenges around this shift. The person runs much more on intuition now, on sensing, on feeling, rather than on logic and calculation. These haven't been thrown overboard. They just don't rule now. Whenever my head and heart conflict on anything, heart always wins, hands down, no argument. It's just that easy. These are not small changes we're discussing here either, but major ones that completely change the complexion of the life. Feeling lost for a while seems to be another symptom. This one displays mostly during the shift from head to heart-centered way of being. This creates such a thorough change in the life that one is bound to feel lost and a bit unhinged for a time. All the old rules by which the life has been governed and lived were just thrown out the door. And the new way doesn't include those kind of rules or standards or methods or basically anything that the mind recognizes and can grasp or feel comfortable with. Comfort zones are blasted away. The good news is that the mind can and does settle down after putting up a really good fight. So, if you're not truly determined that you need or want to make this change, I don't recommend it. Your mind will win you back in that case. Minds are far trickier than we realize. Just try to go against them and you'll see. And with only 10% of ours available for conscious use, we're fighting with both hands tied behind our back, basically. It takes heart taking over to win mind over. So be ready to surrender completely to heart, whatever the heck that is. More good news is that you'll be more intuitive and guided from within than you've likely ever been. And that begins to develop once you've begun to assert your dominance over your mind. And of course, this presupposes disidentifying from both body and mind. Until then, mind keeps you so busy and occupied with trivia, hamster wheel fashion, that though your intuition speaks, you don't hear. Those are the main indications of awakening that come to me now, and I'm not speaking of ascension, since we truly don't know what's up ahead. Ascension into the higher dimensions, it may be just a fond wish and a huge rumor. I don't find anyone truly authorized to speak for ascension, so it's a good idea not to bank on the idea too much. Don't be attached. This is a time when frightened people are reaching for straws or anything to grasp onto to help them make sense of the world, both internal and external. There are any number of truly wild belief systems being adopted by quite a few, and that's fine. As long as people don't grab onto them as absolute lifelines and expect them to save their lives or their sanity, there's nothing wrong with adopting whatever belief suits you. One of mine is that it will all come out in the wash, meaning that everything is fine no matter what. I know that's a strange one. If you're not in heart, I won't even try to explain it to you. There are more and more things that the mind just isn't equipped to understand. So, more and more, it must simply defer to the heart. And that works for me, and that peace comes in handy as well. There's a certain serenity in many of the awakening ones that I don't think mind will ever be able to grok, nor does it need to. What good would it do? The world mind reigned over is falling away every day, more and more. I hope you found at least some things, if not many, in this recitation that you could identify with. It's actually a really good time, in spite of how things may look in the supposed news, which is nothing more than today's propaganda machine, and history will see it that way. Less and less trust in anything official is one sign that I forgot. Perhaps the second most challenging change the awakening ones are making is to open their once sleeping eyes and recognize how their whole society is steeped in nothing but lies and deceit every which way you turn. Now, this is a different sort of a challenge. Unlike the shift from heart to mind, this one is out and out painful in very direct ways. Finding the darkness in and behind everything and everyone you trusted, from organizations to people to parties to anything, can be devastating to the emotions. It's a shock, again and again. One is tempted to give up hope in the overwhelm that is often a part of this aspect of the awakening. It's really tough, and many tears are bound to fall. The head-to-heart change is far more complex and multidimensional, and really unseats the whole being. It seems to change all the rules, to move the goalposts all over the place and knock your priority list for a loop. Nothing. It's like you throw everything up in the air and it all comes down in a different shape or order. That change is more deeply troubling than recognizing the abiding darkness everywhere, since one can be in control of simply pulling the trust back from everything when you see the darkness there. When it comes to moving to heart-centered living, one loses all control, at least in any terms that mind would understand. Mind and control are more or less synonymous. There, that's about as clear as mud, isn't it? I only hope the flow is sufficient to help you connect with what's being said here. One of my favorite things about all of these changes is the overall maxim that seems to work so well for just about everything, and that is, lighten up. Let's have some fun. Actually, have far more fun than you once thought you ever even deserved. Let's let fun be one of our major reasons for life. Heck, it's not a reason, but anyway. Just to be kind to those still in mind, maybe I'll summarize here and provide a list. Hey, I can mention it. Whether heart will make the tapping fingers comply remains to be seen, so here goes. Symptoms of awakening. 1. Move from mind-based to heart-centered living. 2. Completely lose all sense of judgment. 3. Overall sense of gratitude. 4. Inexplicable sense or attitude of peace. 5. Person runs much more in intuition. 6. Feeling lost for a while. 7. Less and less trust in anything official. 8. Discover that to lighten up and make fun a priority works really well. And 9. Develop or find in heart a deep respect for all life. And that means mind your own business and let your brother do the same. In other words, save the self first. There, it happened. I'm telling you, getting a numbered or even bulleted list from heart is not all that usual, though it does happen at random times, as we see here. Now, I went back and I changed this list up a bit. It came through that way, but then I noticed the last one isn't really something you notice. It's more something you implement, perhaps just to retain your sanity. So I'll include it. what I did, I went back and I left the last symptom at less and less trust in anything official. So there are 7 symptoms of awakening. And then there are 2 that I have called the prescription to cure or ease those symptoms. And that is discovering how lightening up and having fun works, and developing a deep respect for all life. Those 2 constitute the prescription. And then finally, I have 2 more, and I call them the result of all of the above. Number 10, you fall in love with all life deeply. And 11, you're unaccountably joyful all the time, even underneath and during the difficult times. Okay, so this one didn't read very well. That little list kind of got in my way. I'm just going to read the rest of it and you'll see how it came through. Really, the symptoms are 7, and the solution is 1, to make fun a priority. Seems to work quite well for any of the above symptoms. Thus, what we have is both a list of symptoms and a prescription for their cure or easing. So I adjusted the list. And I hope you find it helpful or useful in some way. If not for yourself, then maybe to help you understand some of the people around you. Let's all remember that we really are all one. And let's make coming together the very natural priority that it is for one and all. There are and will remain those who are aware of it, and those whose choice is to sleeple their current life away. And let's respect everyone's choices, friends. No forcing anyone into anything or making their life miserable because of the choices that they've made. You know, I don't know what it is about these journals, but so often I will step out and do what I'm thinking is an ad lib, and I will look back and it's pretty much the same thing. So maybe the journals are something that more pre-exists in a certain form or shape, and I just bring them through. Because if it's a flow, how can the flow be so much the same? Okay, so the sentence that I just ad-libbed is written here: no making people's lives miserable just because we think we have the answer to all of the problems. I'll include at the end of my list one additional prescription. Tend to your own mess and leave your brothers alone. That's his business, not yours. Let's develop a good, healthy dose of respect. Oh, and that will come on you quite naturally once you find your way into heart. Only there will you find its respect, capital R, the divine attribute, otherwise known as divine love. And you can see its absence anytime in YouTube comment streams. And there's yet another thing desiring to be added, which is the result of all of the above. And that would be item numbers 10 and 11. So that even if you're not awakened, you don't really care. Hello. You've discovered how to put far more joy into life than you ever imagined possible. So who cares about awakening anyway? Let it come when it will. It will, you know. If we all just lighten up sufficiently, that is what will take place. And you know what I'm reminded of here is people that are dying. You know how, I spend hundreds of hours listening and pondering these NDEs. There's something crucial, critical, and developmental in it for me. And I haven't yet gnawed on it sufficiently, haven't yet chewed it up to get the heart and soul of what's in it for me. But oftentimes, when people find themselves in fear, either in the process of dying because it's really uncomfortable to drown, or, whatever else is going on, or they find themselves out of the body and maybe in the dark or in a void, or maybe due to their own particular belief systems, they have, some kind of dark experience, feeling guilty that they deserve punishment. And so they create some kind of a hellish routine. Often, when people are in fear for any reason at all, it stops the progression of what can be happening there. We need to let go of our fear. It's the biggest interference with flow. There's not a bigger one. So when you come on something in your life and you notice it's a personal fear, that is priceless and precious. That's what you need to work on. And you're lucky, you're blessed that it came up so that you could see it. Most of these things stay hidden, and so we have to be in a particular situation to even realize we have a particular fear. Sometimes these things are carried over unresolved from prior lifetimes or embodiments. Most of what needs to be dealt with reincarnation-wise hinges on the moment of dying, and the feelings or the anger or the fear or the resentment or the rage or whatever it is that we were feeling in that moment. We carry those things forward simply as something unresolved. And so you might even find something from another lifetime cropping up, and you feel it and it feels real, and yet it doesn't have an anchor that will make sense of it in this one, in this life. And so it's good if we're poised and balanced in heart to know when to let go and what to let go of, and to just bless it and thank it for whatever blessing and benefit it brought into your world. Bless it and let it go. And then it's gone, and you can take that deep breath, and you'll feel your whole body relax. And you'll know you've been freed from a burden that who knows how long you've been carrying. It's a time of freedom. It's a time of letting go and surrendering. And in the midst of it all, remembering to smile. Good day.